I've got to say, into the 5,000. That did open my eyes and get my attention.
And the 31st Australian Grand Prix is almost underway. There they go. A tremendous start as they get off, with Max Stewart grabbing the lead as they run down into the first corner here at Shell Corner. Up on the inside there was car number 12, that's Vern Schuppan. Going through on the inside was Goss in the third spot, with Davison, Milton, Allison. Coming up from the back, we've got Bartlett and Leffler going very well, but past the pits the first time and through the very tight left-hander. It was first Stewart, second was Vern Schuppan, third was Goss, who's now been passed by John Davison, but Goss goes back through into third place again as they run through the kink at the mobile scoreboard and head up the hill. Up towards the top of the hill now. They'll go under the bridge and weave down through the S's. Here they come, weaving down towards Goodyear Corner. Max Stewart, still the leader in the Lola T400, going for his hat trick. It's his 41st year, it's the 41st Australian Grand Prix. Max Stewart, looking for the hat-trick of Grand Prix, could be the first racing driver in the world who ever won the same national Grand Prix of a country 3 times in a row. Vern Schuppan in second place, and they've stretched right away from John Goss now in third spot. John Davison still holding down fourth position as they go. 1 lap gone and 46 to go. Head on down into Shell Corner now, weaving round through the left-hand corner. Very fast corner this one, down past the pits, get their pit signals. Still Stewart in the lead. Brightly coloured Lola T400. Then comes Goss through. Then Davison would be the next one coming up now in the Southern Comfort Special, the Mattis. There's Allison, coming up on the inside. They've hit together, and Allison's gone through into the side of, I think it's Kevin Bartlett's car by the look of it.
Max Stewart is certainly going to have the pressure on him. He's the sentimental favourite. He's dictated the pace here since Friday in the early practice. Yesterday with a record equaling lap of 61.5. And Schuppan driving the new Elford MR8, a car that he told us only this morning he regards as the best Formula 5000 car that he's ever raced. So Stewart comes up over the top, number 16. Big Max, a strapping 6-footer, and really manhandling the car as he takes it through the corner here. Schuppan, very, very tidy right.
Yes, very good driver. He was named Rookie of the Year in Indianapolis this year, which of course is a tremendous feat. It's a wonderful honour to get, because you're up against the top of American drivers, and there's quite a number of overseas drivers from Europe. But Vern, I can remember meeting him first in 1970 when he was racing a Formula 3 car in England, and in that first year of his full year of racing in England, he won the Formula 3 championship. You can see the yellow flag being waved. The reason for this, of course, is to signify to the drivers there is extreme danger. In other words, there is something blocking the track, or there are officials on the track, as you can see there. The reason for the flags, of course, are to let the drivers know what is around that next corner. Right, we've got Bruce Allison now with Kerry Luckins down in the pit, so it's over to you, Kerry Luckins.
Well, Bruce Allison, after travelling all the way from the States to run, your race was only 1.5 laps. What happened?
Well, the throttle jammed. We'd been having a little problems with it yesterday, but it was only sort of going on and off, just going up the straights, but just jammed full on then, and even, you know, it was too late. Once I hit the kill button and that, it was just too late, and the damage was done. So I sort of, Ken Shervington, who was going around the outside of me, got taken with me, unfortunately, but it's just nothing I could do about it. We're just sort of travelling too fast and that, and I had the brakes on, but there's nothing we could do, unfortunately.
Big Max, the bear, honking, coming down the back straightaway. Just look at him fly over the kink there. Coming up the back straightaway towards Marlborough. Takes car number 16 through. Still holding a good lead over Vern Schuppan. Will need Schuppan to really turn the pace on, or for something to go wrong with Max's Lola in the closing stages of this race. He's been terribly competitive since Friday, even more so at the present moment as he leads Schuppan and seems to be going away slightly. John Goss still back in third place.
Yes, and there's Goss with about exactly the same amount of distance between himself and Vern Schuppan, 5.2 seconds by our count.
Vern, the Whyalla Wonder Boy, is closing on the bear, coming down around through Tirana now and up the back straightaway, through the kink. This Sandown horsepower plus racetrack, basically left-hand turns all the way, long straightaways, and of course that kick there just on the back straightaway. Now Jim Shepherd joins me as we move into the middle stages of this very, very exciting 41st Australian Grand Prix with Big Max under a ton of pressure.
And the 41st Australian Grand Prix has developed into a classic motor race. You're watching the race leader, Max Stewart. What's he got? 2 lengths in the very outside on Vern Schuppan, the boy from Whyalla, who raced only go-karts in Australia before he went to England and Europe to carve out his fortune in international motor racing. Either of these two could win, but keep your eye also in the blue car in the background. That's the John Goss Mattish car number 2.
Johnny Goss from Sydney has just closed to 1.3 seconds behind Schuppan. Now Schuppan, who was putting the pressure on Max Stewart only 5 laps ago, finds himself, or will find himself, under a lot of pressure from the charging Johnny Goss. And Goss is a fellow who likes this circuit very well. He scored his first major Formula 5000 win here. So Big Max is going to have to wrestle the 16 car around. If he did have problems, he's got a ton of horsepower and certainly an advantage on the straightaways. But here we come again to the turns where Schuppan just closes up. Johnny Goss doing a bit of slipping and sliding as he goes through there. A little untidy in certain parts of the racetrack, but a lot of top-end speed, and he's closed up, I would think, to probably almost a second and a bit behind the front-running car. So it's going to be a tremendous finish as these 3 drivers come down the very, very fast, long straightaway down to Shell for the left-hander. Now they've got a lap car that they're going to overtake. Max will take care of this very, very quickly. Schuppan closes up again as they go over the cement dust where someone has lost an engine there earlier. Through the turn again, Max Stewart will now probably start to go away a little. Vern Schuppan, and just look at Goss. He has really closed up.
Johnny Goss in the Mattish car number 2 is definitely the driver to watch. It's the blue car, left of screen. Now the camera angle from here distorts things a little bit. He's not quite that close and not really ready for a pass, but he is closing up on Vern Schuppan. Max Stewart pulls away a little bit on that slightly uphill run, but how's this for a motor race? The 41st Australian Grand Prix at Sandown Park. John Goss attacking in 3rd position. Vern Schuppan right behind the Max Stewart car, and here comes an advantage perhaps for Max Stewart, because one of the tricks of the trade is when you're lapping cars is to try and pick your moment to get that car between you and the challengers coming from behind. It didn't quite work that time because the track is pretty clear and they're on the main straightaway. Stewart again leading into the pit corner. Schuppan looking at that inside run, but because he's too far back to try and take advantage of it, hangs out the tail, and look at Johnny Goss flying in car number 2, still too far back for an attempt at a pass as they go through Tirana, where there are the remains of the cars of Allison and Shervington hanging on the fence. Look at John Goss now, car number 2, pulling a little bit wide. Maybe he'll pull out of the slipstream this time and look for a second spot.
I think the Whyalla Wonderbook under some pressure here as Johnny Goss goes charging up the inside and takes him. Now Goss has moved to 2nd and the race has come alive. Vern was doing his best to contain Stewart, but I think that Goss, given another couple of laps, is really going to put the pressure on. He's got the top end speed. He's also handling tremendously through the corners, through the top end now, and coming almost onto the straight end. You can see Max Stewart still looking fairly neat up there. He hasn't been clipping the markers in the last couple of laps. But Johnny Goss, look at the crowd. They're going wild in the grandstand as Johnny Goss comes charging down. He was 3rd on the grid. 64.4 is qualifying time yesterday, but he's the co-track record holder up until the race started. And now he has the outright track record with a 101.3. Car number 2 for Citizen 2UW, Johnny Goss, the all-blue car. Boy, does he know how to really pressure. Max Stewart at this stage, I think, would be feeling most unsettled as the extrovert from Sydney, Johnny Goss, and he'll have a lot to say about how he did this his way a little later on. And here he comes down the inside, just if he can only bide his time and wait without taking any unnecessary risks and putting himself in danger. Max has got back to clipping the corners again.
You can imagine the strain on veteran Max Stewart, the boy who started racing motorcycles at Orange in New South Wales and later switched to cars with tremendous success. Still leading this race, but by the barest possible margin. John Goss in car 2. He's been under pressure for the duration of this race, initially from Vern Schuppan. Here's Goss. Oh, and Goss finds a little bit of extra horsepower from somewhere, a little bit too much. Stewart obviously in trouble, drops straight back. He's been passed by Schuppan, and possibly he left his run to pull into the pits a little bit too late. Goss, the new outright race leader from Vern Schuppan in car 12. keep our eyes on Max Stewart and see whether in fact he is calling into the pits. That was bad luck.
Johnny Goss, I would think, is elated at this stage as he pulls away, and he has indeed, Jim, pulled away in the last lap or so from Vern Schuppan.
Max Stewart is in the pits. Let's cross now down to Kerry Luckins.
Yes, Max Stewart driving a really great race, Max. Very bad luck. What happened?
It's chucked the rod, Terry, on the warm-up lap going up the back straight. I missed top gear and had a bit of an over-rev, got up to 9 grand, and that sort of gave me something to worry about for the whole lot of the race. But when it sort of went as far as it did, I thought it would, last out all right. But she's given one the big end bolts a big strain, and
John Goss, our race leader in the 41st Australian Grand Prix, down the main straightaway from Vern Schuppan in second position, and Kevin Bartlett, whom we haven't seen for some time, we can tell you is in third position. Kevin Bartlett third in the Lola T400 as we pick up Goss in car 2, the Matish. Schuppan appears to be closing a little bit, but it could be just that slight handling advantage he has on the 2 left-hand turns into and then past the pits. We'll watch these cars very closely as they go up the so-called back straight, being given a wave to pass on the left there by Chris Milton in the McLaren. Goss still being pursued hard by Schuppan, but he definitely, Max, pulls away on that uphill run.
He certainly does. Well, it's a much lighter car, the Matic A53 of Johnny Goss. Frank Matic built this car several years ago, and he built it to suit the Australian circuits that it was going to run on, and he did a tremendous job, I can tell you, because John Goss has set lap records all over the country. He holds the Sandown lap record, which was equalled yesterday by Max Stewart, but that was unofficial, of course. And John Goss really knows how to drive this Matic. He prepares it almost entirely himself, with the assistance, of course, of his mechanics, and he's done a great job in getting this car right up to the front line of performance of Formula 5000s in Australia, which of course are equal just about to those in any other part of the world. And this part of the race is where Vern Schuppan's international experience is going to tell too. Kevin Bartlett in plenty of trouble up the back straight. He's pulled off. There's our third place holder, has gone by the board, so that third place rather, will probably be, I would think, John Leffler, a long way back, either him or Chris Milton. A little bit hard there, John Goss getting the tail out as he came out of Goodyear Corner and heads towards the S's, approaching the causeway and the Dunlop Bridge. Vern Schuppan a little bit closer there, I fancy, Jim, as they go through the S's under the Dunlop Bridge. And he's, as I said before, definitely not out of this race. He's looking for every possible advantage. John Goss needs to be able to match it. He's got the pace, he's got the handling, he's got the stopping, and he's certainly got the skill.
I think Vern Schuppan is desperate to get a lot closer than he is at the moment to John Goss, because if he can tuck in behind him, he can get a pull down the main straight and up the back straight, therefore saving the motor to quite a considerable extent.
5 laps to go.
We'll also remind you that according to our records, we have the Sydney driver John Leffler back in third position, of course, a long way behind the 2 front runners, Johnny Goss in the Matish Repco car 2 and Vern Schuppan in the car 12. Coming around next time to 3 laps to go. Goss still in the lead, being pressured, and one tiny error, it seems incredible, but one tiny error, a wheel off the track which could take him a fraction of a second to recover, could let Vern Schuppan through to the lead. And with the speeds they're travelling at, a little bit of traffic, there's not much, but the little bit of traffic they do have to negotiate their way past. It could easily spell disaster for either two, in the sense that the lead could be lost.
Well, I'll make a little wager, Jim, that Johnny Goss isn't going to make any tiny error. I know John pretty well, and it's hard to find a cooler customer under pressure conditions such as he's racing now. I can imagine his adrenaline pumping at about 150 psi, and he's got it all together. Look at him looking in the mirrors there, left and right to see where Schuppan is placed. He's keeping him there. He's not exactly ducking and weaving, but he's not making it any easier for him to pick up any slipstream advantage. Schuppan is giving it absolutely everything as they come out of Marlborough country and down into the S's again, closes right up into the tail of Goss's Matic around Goodyear Corner, and what a beautiful bit of driving by Schuppan, a very brave bit of driving there, deep in under brakes into Goodyear, round under the Dunlop Bridge now, and Goss is certainly going to have to keep his eye on it. He's got the foot planted right through the floorboards down the main straight. Schuppan looking for the way through. He's right in the slipstream now. He may might get the pull out. There he goes. He's pulled out onto the inside into Shell Corner. Is Gossy going to let him go? He's not. Chopped right across on Schuppan as they went around Shell Corner and down to into the short pit straight towards Tirana. And oh boy, that could have been a disastrous move if we'd had a couple of drivers there who didn't really understand or trust each other. Schuppan made a great move, the only move that he could have made, pulling out of the slipstream, through the inside, made the inside move to go through Shell Corner, but Johnny Goss wasn't having any of that, and I'm sure that it wouldn't have mattered if it was Vern Schuppan or Nicky Lauder or Al Unser or anybody. Goss was going to have that corner, and he certainly kept it. Now he's got away again, and there's about that 70 or 80 metre advantage that he's got over Schuppan, and Schuppan must be sitting there saying, crikey, how am I going to beat this Goss fella?
Well, the way that Goss has been pressured along by Vern Schuppan is pretty evident. He's now equalled Vern Schuppan's lap record of 101.1, that 115 miles per hour average, and it's now interesting to note that Vern Schuppan, after a really determined, I almost use the word desperate effort to take the lead on Shell in the last lap, has lost ground. He has now only a lap and a bit or so to catch up again, and I doubt from here whether he can do it, because Goss has skipped away again on the run up to Tirana. He'll now have the advantage of the very, very fast run up the hill towards Marlborough, and it does seem as though the odds are stacked very heavily against Vern Schuppan, experience notwithstanding.
Well, the scoreboard says 2 laps to go, and it's still Goss leading the way up the very ribbly and bumpy back straight under the Marlborough sign as they go down the S's. There's Chris Milton's car. That's a derelict, or one of the walking wounded, headed for home. He'll probably try and make it to the finish line to push across the line and qualify as a finish. All the action centering on John Goss and Vern Schuppan. Vern Schuppan gearing himself up for another mad dash out of the S's there and under the Dunlop Bridge. He's got to make it this time, or he can kiss that Australian Grand Prix chance goodbye. Last lap signboard going up, so they're on the second lap at that stage. Into the first lap, into the final lap now. And Schuppan again closes right up on Goss as they go down through Shell Corner. Oh, flings it down through there beautifully. Tries to go alongside Goss as they come into Tirana Corner, but no way at all of making that better than a right angle corner on the inside when Goss is the first man into it.
Well, there's some slow traffic ahead of the two of them, but I think they'll probably catch up those two cars before they hit Marlborough. And if Goss can only put one of those cars between himself and Schuppan, he's got the race won. He's pulling for a big inside run and holding his line correctly and beautifully. Schuppan tucked right in behind, and now it's a matter of whether Schuppan has enough acceleration, locking a brake as he dived for the inside. Past the slower cars, extremely difficult now for Schuppan to pull off a passing move. He can only do it now in the finish straight, and we think Goss has the finishing power. Coming around for the run under the bridge, and this will be for the last time. Here they are, Goss in the lead from Vern Schuppan, and he'll last it out.
The Australian Grand Prix winner in the 41st year, John Goss. Sydney's John Goss, and what a fantastic popular hero he is going to be too. He's got thousands of race fans all over Australia. Johnny Goss, the boy from Tasmania, now resident in Sydney, a magnificent effort, and I reckon that Johnny Goss, as tough a man as he is probably dropping a little tear or two there, quite frankly, and I know that his mum down in Tasmania certainly will be.
Official placings for the Australian Grand Prix: John Goss in a Matic Repco first, Vern Schuppan in an Elfin MR8 second, and John Leffler in a Lola T400 was third.
The guys who drove, particularly in the 5000s, there was a very close brotherhood.
Was.
And that's what the motor racing was about too. If you're in the pits, it's like, Jesus, I need a lock and wheel nut for the rear of me Lola. KB will have one, or Max will have one.
And they lend it.
Of course, they'd send someone up with it and say, when you finish, bring it back.
Yeah.
And that was the way it was done.